You did. I love it. I love it when people end up in my kitchen. It makes me so happy.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. And listen, welcome to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast.
We talk about murder.
And we do a little bacon too.
That's what we do.
And we have a little chit chat.
Sometimes
there's a shenanigan or two.
Maybe.
Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all about it. So today I'm going to tell you what I'm making.
Oh, let's hear.
I'm making bananas Foster.
I couldn't be happier.
It's so exciting.
I love a bananas Foster.
I do too. I really enjoy it. And I don't typically it's weird. I like banana bread, and I don't like a banana muffin.
Right.
I don't like a banana cake.
No.
But I'll eat a little bit of banana pudding the first day it's made.
Right. Well, now I will eat that Paula Deen, not your mama's banana pudding till the cows come home. That stuff is so freaking good.
I mean,
but it's more about the butter cookies that you put in it than anything else.
I think so too.
But like the regular Nilla
wafer one,
that's not my cup of tea. That one's too puddingy.
Puddingy.
The other one's got cream cheese in it, so it's not that puddingy texture.
Yes.
So anyway, so tell me, you had a lot of bananas to cut. How did you cut all those bananas so fast?
Let me just freaking tell you. So there's this awesome kitchen hack on Alexa, and when you load this skill into your app called How to Slay in the Kitchen, we get some awesome kitchen tips, but only if you say, Alexa, play my flash briefing. So I had 5 bananas that I needed to slice, and I wanted to do it quickly because normally 5 bananas would take me about, a minute a banana.
Right.
But in this super duper easy way that I found out from this great kitchen hack app, so we took a cooling rack.
Oh yeah, it was a cooling rack.
It was a cooling rack that has just the slats going one way on it, not the squared off ones like the Pampered Chef ones. And I peeled one half of the banana. So one side was peeled, one side wasn't. And I flipped it onto the rack with the peeled side up, using the peeled side to press down evenly. And all of the banana slices fell right through those little bars. And voila, it took me 30 seconds instead of I think it took me 30 seconds to do all 5 bananas.
Right, yeah, it was really quick.
Instead of 30 seconds to do 8 bananas.
Yeah.
So
way to slay in the kitchen.
And I didn't have to worry about cutting my fingers.
That's right.
So, and they made even slices, which is even better.
Right. It's perfect.
It's crazy. And honestly, if you were doing something where you needed your bananas cut into long strips.
Yeah, that would work too.
That would be perfect.
It would be.
So anyway, just saying, there's a really great Alexa app out there. If y'all would just get it and then ask it to play your flash briefings every day, you'd be amazed.
You would be. So, all right, so there you go. What else? What are you going to do with those bananas?
Going to make bananas Foster.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to add it. I'm going to put it with some dark brown sugar, some butter, some vanilla, and some rum. And then I'm going to light that mother on fire.
That's awesome.
Because I love fire.
Yeah.
And then and it's going to caramelize and blah, blah, blah. It's going to make bananas Foster. And then once we have that, I have some vanilla ice cream we can put it on top of and when it's ready to taste.
That makes me happy. Or we could drink it. We could just drink it.
Drink it? I don't think it's really drinkable. But
you do you, I'll do me.
That's fine, no problem. So it's going to be really easy, guys. If you need the recipe, just email us and we'll get you the recipe. But this is a really cool thing to use, like if you're making pancakes and you want like a different kind of pancake. Make some bananas Foster, put it in the fridge. Take about, like 3 heaping tablespoons of it and blend it into your pancake mix. And it will zhuzh up your pancakes.
Well, I love a zhuzh pancake.
Yeah. So you could do that. You could, you could put it on a waffle.
Oh, that would be delicious.
Warmed up on a waffle.
Maybe we should try it all the ways.
Do you?
So
do you now?
I do.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you can do with bananas Foster. You can even just get a basic muffin mix and then put a little bit of this in the batter and just come out with a banana foster or just get a vanilla cupcake mix.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good
and make
too.
your vanilla cupcakes and then put this in there and just increase the cooking time for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a rum icing recipe that you could find.
Ooh, or just pour some rum on it.
There you go. Soak it. So
that's what I'm going to be doing over here.
All
what
right.
will you be doing over there?
I've got a story to tell. A murder.
Story of a murder?
A murder.
Oh, heavens to Betsy.
So this one happened in the Florida Keys. And
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the name of the place because I'm not especially familiar with it. But it's a very big place if you like to fly planes. And it's called Tavernier Keys.
Okay.
Don't ask me anything about it because I didn't look it up.
For it.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a murder there. And then we've got we've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that's happened. And so we'll catch you guys up maybe in between murders. So you don't miss anything. We won't save it all.
We don't want you to miss a thing.
No. All right, so here we go. I'm going to tell my story. You get to cooking.
All right, yes, ma'am.
Susan MacIvor, and these are the MacIvors, MacIvor. I love that name. I don't know why, but I think it's so cool. MacIvor.
Okay.
Susan, she went by Missy, but I call her Susan in this story because it seemed more serious. I don't know. I just call her Susan. I'm going to call her Susan, okay?
Just call her whatever
So she
you want.
didn't show up for work on August 22nd, 1991. Her coworkers called the house and tried to reach Susan's husband, Michael. They didn't get any answer. They didn't have any luck trying to find him or where he was. So when they didn't have any luck, they thought maybe something bad had happened to Susan. She was 8 months pregnant. Her co-workers decided to head over to the MacIvor home. And there had been a really bad tropical storm that passed through the night before, so they thought, what if they don't have power or trees come down? You just never know.
There's a lot going on with those tropical storms.
So you got to check on your friends when that happens.
Yes, always check on your friends.
Her co-workers knock on the door. There's no answer. They check with the neighbors. The neighbors hadn't heard from them or seen them. And then they called the police. And that's kind of a little bit of a conflicting story. There's one thing that I read that said the neighbors and the co-workers knocked the door down. Another one said they waited for police to come.
So somewhere in between there is what really happened.
Exactly. So the police get there. They break down the door. They start to search the house, and they find there had been a struggle in the living room for sure. As they start to look around the room, they find Michael. He's in a t-shirt and underwear. He had masking tape wrapped all around his face. Only part of his nose was exposed.
Oh my God.
He had bruising on his neck and blood around his nostrils.
Oh my gosh.
Police continued through the house, and they found Susan in the master bedroom. Her body was naked.
Oh.
There was a belt around her wrists, a belt, masking tape, and clothesline around her ankles. And her ankles and wrists were bound together. She had basically been hogtied.
And she's pregnant.
A tie and a sash were wrapped around her neck, and her eyes were covered with masking tape. Her nightshirt and underwear were found in the bed comforter. It was clear the nightshirt had been ripped off her body, and her underwear had been cut. A Luma light showed semen stains on Susan's body and on the sheet. A .22 caliber shell casing was found in the bedroom, and there was a bullet hole in one of the bedroom curtains, but neither of the victims had bullet wounds.
Oh.
The sliding glass doors in the bedroom were opened. The police continued their search of the house. They found the sliding glass doors in the guest bedroom were also opened. They found a ladder propped up against the house near the guest room balcony. And the clothesline on that balcony had been cut and pieces were missing. Police also saw that the phone lines to the house had been... The medical examiner confirmed that both Susan and Michael had been strangled to death. The semen on Susan and the bed sheets did not belong to Michael. Susan had been raped. DNA from the crime scene was put into the database, but there were no matches found.
Wow.
Susan and Michael were very well liked, so friends and family couldn't imagine who on earth would do this to them.
Seriously?
They had moved to Tavernier, Florida, because Mike was in the aviation business, and this was the home to a lot of pilots and aviators.
Okay.
Investigators looked into the possibility that Michael had been involved in some shady business with his planes because he traveled to Central America frequently. Michael was on the up and up, so they kept digging to try and figure out who murdered the MacIvors.
Gosh.
Susan was an elementary school teacher and didn't seem to have any enemies. From the start, investigators focused on Michael as the target. They looked into possible drug cartel involvement. Every theory that they came up with was a dead end. And after years of dead ends, investigators finally bring in a profiler from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. She takes a look at the full case file and says that investigators had been focusing on the wrong target.
What?
She said Michael was not the target. They should have been focusing on Susan.
Get out!
Michael had been strangled and died quickly, whereas Susan had been raped and tortured before she died.
Oh, wow.
This changed everything. She also said that the murderer would be someone that possibly had a history of burglary just by looking at how the crime scene laid out and how somebody broke into the house, cut the phone lines. Like, this wasn't somebody...
It doesn't seem like it was random. It was planned.
Right.
And somebody that has done it before.
Right. So, police go back to the MacIvor family and friends, and they start asking, was Susan involved with someone? Is there anyone that had expressed a romantic interest in her? And nobody could think of anything, but Susan's sister-in-law did tell police that the day before the murders, Susan had stopped off at the gas station, the Amico station, right up the street from their house. And the attendant at the gas station had really creeped her out, and had creeped her out many times before, but this instance in particular got really bad, and she had to get really forceful in turning him down because he was persistent in trying to ask her out.
She's a pregnant woman.
I know. And
it made learn just let her pump her gas.
Right. And it made Susan feel really, really uncomfortable.
You know what? That irritates me that a woman can't go pump her damn gas without some threat at her.
I know.
Gosh.
It's ridiculous. So the man who hit on Susan, his name is Thomas Overton.
Okay.
A well-known burglar in the area.
Oh, a burglar.
As a matter of fact, Thomas Overton had been a suspect in a murder that happened the year before the MacIvors were murdered. A 20-year-old girl had been dropped off at the movies by her dad. Thomas Overton happened to be working at that movie theater at the time. The girl had mentioned to her father that Overton really creeped her out, but didn't make a big deal of it. The girl never came home from the movies and was later found dead in the woods behind the theater.
Oh, no.
So police interviewed him after that murder, but there was no evidence to tie him to that girl's murder.
Uh-huh.
So police interview Overton again in 1993 about the MacIvors. He says, well, I didn't have anything to do with it. And they say, great, can you give us a DNA sample? He said, no.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I'm good.
I'm good.
I got nothing to say.
I mean, my word is golden, man.
Yeah, dudes.
So police didn't have a choice. They had to let him go. They just had to let him go. But they decided that they would watch him. He was now on a watch list. So there was always somebody watching him.
We are looking at you, buddy.
And he committed a few crimes here and there along the way, but there was never enough evidence to get him in. So they waited, and finally in 1996, a friend of his tipped the police off that he was going to rob a place. And the police set up a sting, and they caught him, not for the burglary, but for having a gun. And he was a felon, and felons aren't allowed to have guns.
Oh.
So this was a good reason for them to arrest him.
We're going to get you.
So they arrested him and took him to jail. Again, asked him for a DNA sample. Now, this is back in 1996. Now they don't have a choice. They have to give the DNA sample. But in 1996, the prisoners had a choice.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to give a DNA sample unless it had something to do with the case you were in jail for. And he was on jail on a gun violation.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get it from him. But while he was in custody, he attempted to commit suicide. He actually cut his own throat. He was thinking that he would get transferred to a different facility maybe, and, whatever. They would forget about the whole DNA thing. But instead, police were able to get blood from towels that they used to stop the bleeding. And they sent that off. Right. They sent that off for testing.
I know. I'll try to kill myself, and then they'll forget that they wanted my DNA.
Never mind the DNA. Right. Never mind that you're going to spill your DNA all over the jail.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So, the DNA that they collected from the towel wasn't enough to get a full DNA profile, but it was enough to get a court order for a full DNA sample.
Okay.
So while he was in hospital custody, recovering from his throat slashing, they took his DNA and they sent it off, and he was a match.
Oh my gosh.
Like 1 in 4 trillion times a match. No question about it, he was a match. So they arrested him for the murder of Susan and Michael and their unborn child, a baby boy.
Oh my God.
At the trial, the prosecutor has the DNA evidence, and they also have 2 witnesses who testified against Overton. One witness told jurors that Overton had confessed to committing the burglary in what he called a wealthy neighborhood in the Keys. And then Overton further explained that he actually had to waste someone during that robbery in the Keys.
Oh gosh.
He described the tools that he used, the way he got into the house, and all of that matched what police had discovered at the MacIvor house.
Yeah.
So that was a good witness to have. The second witness was somebody that Overton had met in jail. And you know, I don't know, they just love to talk. If they just sing their songs like little birds.
They sing like canaries.
They just can't keep it quiet.
Help themselves. It's an ego thing.
They cannot keep it quiet.
No.
So I'm going to tell you exactly how Overton describes what happened. And this man actually, told the jurors what had happened. So he goes to the MacIvor house. He says he's dressed in all black with a mask and gloves. Mm-hmm. He cut the phone wires. He leaned a ladder against the balcony. That made some noise, and a light came on inside the house. So he waited 20 minutes before he entered the house. He climbed up the ladder. He reached the balcony, cut the clothesline, popped the sliding glass doors off the runners in the guest bedroom, and entered the house. He walked through the house and saw the MacIvor sleeping. He continued to walk around the house, and at one point he heard a noise, and he looked up to see Mr. MacIvor walking to the kitchen and opening the refrigerator. Mr. MacIvor must have sensed that something was wrong because he began to look around, and Overton panicked. How scary is that?
Wow.
He got up to get something from the fridge and then got a creeped out feeling.
Oh my God. Where's your lighter?
Oh, it's over here in this little container. You see where the Sharpies are? Yep. You see it?
I do. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
So he comes in and he grabs Mr. MacIvor from behind, hits him in the head with a pipe from something he found around the house. Mr. MacIvor was not rendered unconscious immediately, so he hit him with his fist to knock him out. At this point, Michael runs out of the bedroom, and Overton chases him back into the bedroom.
Wow.
Miss MacIvor, Susan, comes out of the bed. She's awakened now from all of the commotion. She comes out, sees what's happening, and her husband's now unconscious.
Oh my God.
And
she must have been scared to freaking death.
Overton, who's somebody he probably had on his mask, so she didn't know who he was at this point. Anyway,
right.
He ties her up and tries to talk to her, telling her that if she would just cooperate, nobody would get hurt.
Which is not always the truth.
Right.
But they say cooperate.
But I think from her voice, she recognized who he was, and she told him, "I know who you are."
Uh-oh.
And at that point, he was worried that
she was gonna
ID him, and he could tell that Michael was coming too. He wasn't dead; he was just unconscious, right?
Right.
So, but he's tied up Susan. So he goes back to the living room. He puts a sock in Michael's mouth, and then he puts masking tape all around his head. He didn't.
Rude. His
rationale. This is what he told the witness, and what the witness is telling the jurors.
Right.
The reason that he put the masking tape all around, including over his eyes, is because he was concerned that when he went to kill Michael, that his eyes would pop out.
What?
And that's why he put the tape over.
Oh, because I don't want to get grossed out.
Exactly. I don't want to be. I
don't want to be grossed out when I kill this guy.
Right.
Ooh, icky. But
So
everything else that I'm
gross.
doing is perfectly fine. But
He
that's the
said
one thing I
he knew
can't
that
do.
his nose was going to bleed.
Oh my God.
Because obviously I've done this before, but he didn't want the eyes to pop out.
He's a monster.
I know. So then he goes back to the bedroom and rapes Susan. Then he strangled her because he didn't want to leave any witnesses. And then at some point, this is the worst part of the whole thing that the jurors had to hear. At some point, he saw movement in Susan's stomach, placed his hand on her belly to feel the fetus move. And then he went to the living room and saw that Michael was becoming conscious, and he kicked him in the stomach and then strangled him until he died this time.
Oh my God.
Right. So it just is so...
He is a monster, and he is evil. He's just pure evil.
He is pure evil. The bullet, for some reason, had nothing to do with him. So we still don't know what about the bullet. It just didn't come into play at all.
He didn't have a gun with him.
He didn't have a gun with him. He was just a burglar. He used his hands to do his dirty work.
That's weird.
Yeah. So everything goes to the jurors. On February 10th, 1999, the jury found him.
It's our way of speaking, and you all just need to accept that it's the new way.
Yeah, look it up in our dictionary. It's right there.
In the Sugar-Coated Murder Dictionary. Founds. Dude.
He's found guilty of first-degree murder of Susan, first-degree murder of Michael, guilty of the killing of an unborn child.
Oh, nice.
Guilty of burglary of a dwelling, and guilty of sexual battery involving serious physical force. On March 18th, 1999, he was sentenced to death for Susan's murder, death for Michael's murder, 15 years for the death of the child, life for the burglary, and life for sexual battery. So you're done. And then in April of 1999, he files his first appeal. The court affirmed that the conviction and the sentence were good to go. And that was in 2001. He's since filed multiple appeals, all of which have been denied.
I'm sure, probably blaming Susan for the whole thing.
Yeah. And the last one I saw was in 2012. No, it's all about how the case was handled. It's not about his innocence. It's all been about how the DNA was handled.
Of course.
He said the DNA they found, the investigator caught up with his ex-girlfriend and got semen in a condom and took it to the crime scene. Whatever. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. It's a
he's
waste.
Just grasping at straws, and it's a waste of
it's
court
a waste.
Time and court money.
It's a waste. But here's the thing. You know, he was convicted in 1999. It's 2021.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, go. It's time to go. It's time to get him off of death row and go.
What state is he in?
Florida.
They're usually pretty good about getting rid of him. But if he's still appealing, then until it goes all the way to the state Supreme Court and they say your appeals are done, then he's gonna, and that's another way to prolong his life, is just to keep appealing shit.
That's true. And the last execution of a death row inmate in Florida was in 2019. And that inmate had been on death row for 34 years.
Yeah, maybe they're not so quick.
Florida might not be in the we're moving real fast to get our people off the death row.
Wow.
But that was a crazy story. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons that I picked that murder. Because I want to tell people that for a while, when we first started this podcast, I had a part-time job at a grocery store. And I had a customer come in, and he seemed like the nicest guy to everybody. He would come in and he would buy a lottery ticket, and he would always say, okay, I'm going to sign it. Now you sign it. And then if I win, I'll come back and we'll turn it in together and I'll get you out of here. And at first, you're thinking, ha ha ha, that's really funny. And then after a while, it's like, no, thank you. I don't want to sign the ticket anymore. I don't want to be part of whatever.
I'll never sign that ticket.
Right. Whatever thing you're doing, I don't want to be part of it. And from there, it went to, if I was not behind the customer service desk, he would come behind me and play with my hair.
That's so creepy.
And at that point, I told my manager I'm no longer comfortable. And I had to take it all the way to human resources because nobody would listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want people to know, be careful what you're giving out to people in the public. Poor Susan had written a check at the gas station, which back in the 90s
that was
a thing to do. But think about when you write a check to somebody.
It's got your address on it.
It's got your address on it.
Yeah,
that's how he knew where to go.
Yeah, that is so scary.
So, and grocery stores can be the same way.
Yes.
And it could be you as the customer, or it could be you as somebody working in that store. So you just have to be careful. And if you ever get a creeped out feeling about somebody, listen to your creeped out feeling.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you go to a gas station and the gas station attendant creeps you out, don't go back
Find a
to that
different
gas station.
station.
If you have to drive out of your way 20 minutes,
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because
You just
back
don't know.
when we lived in Lesby, I found out that there was a gas station attendant that was on the sex offenders list, and he was working at that gas station that we went to all the freaking time.
And you can find that information, folks. You
Yes.
can find
Now,
the sex
especially
offender list
these
in your
days.
area.
Especially these days.
Right.
Back in 1999, it wouldn't have been as easy, and he wouldn't have been on the
No,
list. I mean,
or they didn't have a chance. They didn't have a chance.
once he zeroed in on her, it was
That
all
was it.
over.
It was
And that's
over.
what's so scary.
Right.
So I agree. We have to learn to trust our instincts, because even in this day and time, women are still preyed upon.
They are, and they can.
And,
The people
and I'm
that,
not saying that men aren't and children aren't. Everybody is, but women, we are preyed upon by these predatory men who don't take no for an answer, and they think it's okay. And so you have got to have your sensories heightened every time you walk out your door.
And nobody listened to me at the grocery store because the managers all said, he seems harmless to me. And I said, people who rape people don't do it because they're in love with them or want to date them. They do it because they want to dominate them.
Not only that, but the man is not going to come out and show the worst side of his personality to the public. He's going to show his best side.
Right.
And that's what people do. I mean, I ran into a situation in my lifetime where there was a situation and nobody wanted to believe me because the person on the other side of that situation was the president of their youth group at a church.
Right.
Sorry. I mean, that's great, but, it doesn't matter. There are all sorts of sides to people. We all are multi-faceted, multi-personality people. That's who we are.
Yeah. So anyway, when I read this story, I immediately thought of that time. I don't work at that store anymore. I got to a point where there was too much anxiety for me. And to be honest with you, and you know this, and I don't share it with a lot of people, but I experienced a lot of PTSD with the trauma associated with not being listened to, being treated differently when the man would come back into the store because they did not trespass him from the store. They just made it so I didn't have to wait on him. Right. But that meant I had to go hide somewhere while he was in the store. Which is
ridiculous because that turns you already into his victim.
Exactly. And
that's
then
women are not victims. We should not have to be victims.
We shouldn't have to be. So thankfully, I got a new job and I didn't have to work both jobs
and I think lot of that was God's intervention.
I agree.
Because when it happened, it was at the height of all of that stuff. You were at a very heightened level of anxiety, and then swoon, everything just kind of boom, boom, boom fell into place, and you were able to get the hell out of there.
And it took me a solid year, probably almost a year and a half before I could physically walk back into that store.
For fear that he'd be in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Except if we had walked in there and he had been in there and we were together and you no longer have on that uniform, girl.
I know. It might have been a different situation.
Girl.
Yeah, because you can't. At your work, you want your company to protect you. And I'm not saying that the grocery store didn't protect. I just don't think that they did as good a job as they should. I don't think that they
were understanding the seriousness of the situation.
Right, the potential. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there in case somebody was having a similar situation.
Yeah.
You don't know what people are going through.
And listen, if there's somebody in your line, your pathway every day that's creeping you out, tell people.
Tell somebody.
Tell. Because the more people know, the more people can support you and get behind you and say, you don't have to put up with this stuff. Let's do something different. Or, hey, I'll walk in there with you. Right. I'll take care of that mother.
Right.
And
poor Susan. I mean, this happened in 1991. It wasn't until 1996 that they even figured out who it was. And it was because a relative remembered, oh, yeah, there was this one guy that really creeped her out. And then everything popped wide open. Yeah. So tell somebody, don't keep it
a secret.
Share it.
Yeah, even if it's somebody that everybody knows and everybody thinks, oh gosh, you just need to say, you know what, there's something goes on, there's a vibe that I get from that person that makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
It doesn't mean you don't have to accuse them outright of anything.
No.
But just need to tell. You
Get them
gotta
out.
talk about it. Talk about it.
We'll come up with something better than that.
Okay.
All right, so
that's going to be the new campaign.
Yeah.
For anti-violence.
Talk about it.
Okay, so Bananas Foster, it's ready.
I'm so happy
because that's how fast it cooks.
It smells amazing.
It does.
And thank you for not catching my house on fire.
I didn't catch your house or myself on fire.
I appreciate that.
Because I've been known to set my fingernails on fire.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't do that today. I didn't want that kind of toastiness in the Bananas Foster. So I think what we should do is pause.
We'll pause.
And we should get us a little dish of ice cream and taste this while it's warm.
I think that is a delightful idea. And then we can catch up on some things.
Yes,
and then
you can do some
housekeeping.
And then I have a murder to tell.
All right, please hold.
Hold on. We're back.
We are back.
And we have a bowl of vanilla ice cream with Bananas Foster on it, and we're going to taste it right now
because
we can't wait.
That's delightful.
Wow.
Delish.
Holy moly.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we wanted to do a shout out. To our friends at Parker's Peanuts in Cortland, Virginia.
Oh my gosh. Yummy.
They make some fantastic peanuts.
We got a big old order. I got regular peanuts, like just normal flavor. And I got Cajun. I like to combine the two in a little bowl.
Now, are the Cajun real spicy? I didn't get Cajun.
I don't think that they're overly spicy, but I do like to put them in a bowl with the plain ones.
Yeah, just to break it up.
The sea salt ones.
Right.
And just break it up a little bit, and it makes it for a nice little mix when you're cooking dinner and you just need you got a little spot. Oh, that's your dog.
Trump has accidentally moved his peanut butter bowl onto the hardwood floor.
I didn't mean it. So anyway, and the other thing that I got some chocolate covered peanut brittle that is unfreaking real.
Yeah, I got that too. It's so good.
And then
chocolate covered peanuts.
We got chocolate covered peanuts that are out of this world, guys. So if you all want to taste a really good peanut that represents where we're from, y'all need to get a hold of Park Peanuts.
Yeah.
Parker's Peanuts.
Yes. Look for them. Just Google it. You'll find it.
Just Google it, Cortland, Virginia. And shout out to my friend Lynn because we went to high school together. We grew up together.
Isn't that something?
I know. It's crazy.
Small world.
Now I'm eating her nuts. Yeah. Who knew, Lynn? I was going to eat your nuts.
She came right up and ate her nuts.
I did. So that's some shouting out.
That's some shouting out. What else? This week we finished our improv class.
We did. We had our recital.
We did.
We had so many people that came out and supported us, which was super nice. My whole family came, even though I asked them not to. I had three friends that came, and then one of my friends brought her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend.
So fun.
I mean, I packed the house with my people.
Way to go.
Yeah. And, well, your son was working, or he would have been there. And then I just want to shout out to our instructor, Josh. He did an incredible job.
That'd be Joshua Christian.
Yes, he is, and he's an amazing instructor. And we found out at the end of class that it was the first time he'd ever taught class.
Oh my gosh, she was such a good
teacher. And I said,
teacher.
I thought you were just a crusty old professor that'd been doing this forever. And he's like, no, it was the first time I ever taught a class. So he did such a great job, and we met so many awesome and incredible people.
So he's part of a group called Super Grouper.
Yeah.
They are a little improv group.
They're amazing, and they do perform around in the Charleston area. If anybody's around in the Charleston area, you should go see them. They perform at different theaters around.
And what was the name of the theater we did our class in?
South of Broadway Theater.
Yes.
In North Charleston.
And that little theater is the perfect size to me. It's not huge. It's not
intimidating.
No. So it was perfect.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, just food for thought. It would be the perfect size for you and I to do a live show.
Wouldn't it though?
Just saying, I don't know how people feel about it. If you're listening in the Charleston area and you have an opinion, let us know. Would you come to our show?
Would you come?
Would you come see us?
We'd probably have to charge a little money because I'm sure it costs.
Yeah, because we've got to pay the theater back.
Yeah. And I don't know if we'd be able to bake live or... I mean, honestly, if we had a microwave, we could make it work.
I mean, I can make trail mix like nobody's business.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, we
could figure out the
fun.
logistics. But anyway, it would be a nice, kind of something interesting to do. So we really enjoyed the class. We met some incredible people. People that I feel like we'll be friends with for a very long time.
Lily was our greatest fan in that class.
Yes. She immediately started listening to this podcast as soon as she found out that it existed. So she's been awesome.
Yeah. And Mari has been she started following us on the gram.
So has Joshua.
And Joshua. And then we had Stefan and Michael and Trenton. And Renee.
Yeah. And Mari's husband, Henry, wasn't in the class, but he was very supportive of us every time we went.
And they have a little comedy thing called RIP.
RIP Comedy.
Comedy. Yeah, that's on that, the website for the theater.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, we've landed in the land of improv. And I got to tell you, I was telling Anne on the way home, I think that night or sometime recently, all the days meshed together for me, but I was saying when we got into podcasting, we met so many podcasters that are so supportive in this community, people that we don't even lay eyes on. We've never seen them. They never see them. And they are always willing to lend a helping hand, do whatever they can to support us. We all support each other, and they all feel like there's enough in this life to go around for everybody. Nobody's guarding their own rice bowl, which I think is so refreshing. And then we go into this improv comedy community, and damn if they're not the same way.
I know, it's amazing.
And they just are all rooting for you to be as successful as you can be. And I just think it's so refreshing. And I just think it speaks very highly of humanity. Indeed. So, and we're so blessed.
Let us take this opportunity right this minute to say, Lyndon, if you're driving to work, have a good week.
Oh, yeah. No, or if he's at work listening on a Monday morning.
Right.
Just know that we're eating some bananas Foster. You could put it on some pancakes or a waffle.
Or a scone.
Or you could even put it on a scone. And I would like to know if your scones are round or triangular. But we do love you, Lyndon. We love you like our brother from another mother in the UK.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right. So I think we've covered all of our housekeeping for now.
I can't imagine. Yeah, we've got some projects coming up that'll be fun to talk about soon.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so I'm going to stop eating.
It's hard. I licked my bowl. Good. I licked my bowl a little.
I know, and I put a lot of bananas Foster and a little bit of ice cream for me.
I don't feel like I got enough ice cream or bananas Foster.
Well, evidently.
Might have to have a refill. Just
okay. I have a murder to talk about.
All right, I'd like to hear it.
Oh, really? That's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
That's convenient. Okay. And there was my hydration. This takes place in May of 1999.
All right.
In this place called Utan, Nebraska.
Utan, Nebraska.
It's a little rural town in Nebraska. So I'm going to talk about...
we haven't done any murders in Nebraska, so thank you for really reaching out there. I'm sorry, I've got to stab into my ice. My straw wouldn't go down.
I know it gets like that. And I bent my straw doing that. My metal straw. Yeah, now when I go to suck my metal straw, it's like not very much comes out anymore. So I'm going to have to get another one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Sandra Schnabel.
Schnabel?
I think it's Schnabel.
All right.
Yes.
Let's hear about Sandra Schnabel.
So she is a beloved volleyball coach and business teacher at Utan High School. A 40-year-old mother of 3 small children. Married to Mark, who's a 42-year-old landscape designer. Around 1 o'clock in the morning... on May 22nd of 1999, the fire department is called to the Schnabel property. I'm going to stumble over Schnabel every time because I want to say Schnabel, but it's not Schnabel.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Oh.
No, I'm positive. I did research to make sure I was saying it right.
Okay.
So they were called to the property to structure fire at 1 o'clock in the morning. And when they arrived, they found a barn on the property totally engulfed in flames and a minivan that looked like it had crashed into the barn. The minivan was also on fire, and laying next to the minivan, kind of pinned under the front wheel, was a body.
Oh, Lord.
That body was also smoldering.
Oh, Jiminy Crickets.
The scene felt odd to the first responders, and so they immediately decide, smart cookies, we're going to treat this as if it were a crime scene.
That's a good idea.
So they let the barn burn, because it was already engulfed anyway, and so they controlled it as much as they could from the other side, but they tried not to water down the scene as much as possible.
Right.
To preserve evidence. They were really smart.
Yeah, that was smart.
So upon daylight, investigators could see tire tracks that went from the road, up at the road, through 2 barbed wire fences and led up to the barn where the van had crashed.
2 barbed wire fences?
Yes,
wow.
through a horse field.
Damn.
So they said maybe somebody had pursued this person from the road.
Oh, yeah, like a chase. Like
a chase.
Yeah.
It looked like, and that's what it looked like. Somebody had chased somebody through the road.
Yeah, I'm coming for you.
Yeah. So they start looking at the body, and they figure out that body is actually that of Sandy Schnabel.
The beloved teacher.
And high school volleyball coach.
I mean, volleyball coach.
And both.
Oh,
She's
thank
both.
God.
Yeah, no.
Because mine was a teacher, too. So I was starting to get confused. But yeah,
no, she's
that's
both.
our tie-in.
No, there's always a tie-in. It looked as though someone had chased her through the farm as she tried to make it to the house, but maybe she had lost control, hit the barn instead, sparking a fire, and was somehow thrown from the vehicle.
Mm.
Her husband, Mark, had at that point had left with the 3 kids to try to shield them from the carnage and the horrific scene of their mom's death.
Yeah, I could see that.
And they were small. Like 7, 4, and 3 or something.
Do you need a lozenge of some sort?
I don't know. I think I have a banana stuck in my throat.
Oh, no. A banana stuck in your throat. Wow. Maybe
so
the peeling,
sorry,
the cutting of the banana didn't work out.
No, it worked out for me. So once the body was removed and the scene was processed as they could, investigators needed to talk to Mark to find out where Sandy had been that night.
Mm-hmm.
So they met Mark that morning at his workshop on the farm. He was sitting on one of those ATV gators. I love those things.
Mm.
You know, I always wanted one.
I
still want one.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we could do that.
Yeah. So he was in the shop looking like he was still in shock. Like he was definitely just bewildered. Wow. I would say bewildered because I like to say that. Bewildered.
Yeah.
So they asked Mark about the events of the night before. He said that he and Sandy had argued about money, but it was really not a big deal. And around 9:30 p.m., she left in her minivan to go cool off.
Oh, she got real mad.
And he went to bed.
Oh.
And so he said that was the last time he saw her. And around 1 a.m., someone pounded on his door to tell him his barn was on fire. So he called 911. He also noted that at that time, Sandy was still not home.
Right.
They asked if maybe she was driving drunk and maybe lost control, but that's a long ways to lose control.
It is.
And he said neither of them ever drank. Right. They were not drinkers at all. So at that point,
not guzzlers.
They're not guzzlers. They don't know what they're missing. So at that point, Mark got physically ill in the workshop and had to walk away and stop the interview. He was just overcome with emotions. Mm. But they still had a lot of questions. Where had Sandy gone? Was she with anyone? Had someone nefarious,
nice word,
love that word
nefarious.
too, followed her home? And who would want to cause Sandy harm? Because it's a very small town. Everybody knew her.
Right.
They had been to, I think, 6 state championships with their volleyball
wow.
team. Like, she was a very highly respected, highly decorated coach in that town.
Amazing.
Everyone loved her in the small community. And she had taught for more than 10 years at the high school. And no one had a bad thing to say about her ever. So police go back to the scene to try to figure out, what are we missing? Like, they are just like, there's something we're missing here. It's not adding up. So they were like, maybe this was just a freak accident. But then they get a call from the medical examiner, and he says there was soot in her lungs.
Oh.
So she was breathing as she was burning.
Oh, my gosh.
At the scene of the fire. And she was also covered in severe burns, some right down to her bone.
Damn.
So what the preliminary cause of death was smoke inhalation and severe burns.
Right.
But also, she had a fractured skull.
Uh-oh.
Some broken ribs and some weird bruising on her back.
Oh, no.
And they were like, we don't know if this could have been caused during the accident, like when she was thrown from the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And the coroner said, not these kind of bruises. Right. These are not adding up to what you would typically see in a car accident. So then they're really confused. It said that she had been struck, it looked like in the back of her head with a blunt force object. And like I said, not typical of a car accident. So about this time, the town is waking up to the news of Coach Schnabel's horrific death. And so many people were distraught over the loss of her and the trauma of how it happened. They were this is a very small town.
Yeah.
They were really rocked. So at the scene, they start looking harder at these tire tracks, and they notice there are 2 sets. Mm-hmm. One from the van.
Oh.
And now there's a different car that looks like it had driven over some of the tracks. So that vehicle would have been behind the van.
Right.
So they're like, okay, so it looks like she was chased.
Right.
So now we got to find out who or what the other tracks are from. And then they were saying when she crashed and was ejected from the vehicle, did they attack her?
Right.
And set her on fire? Like what, to cover up maybe the attack? They were really trying to figure out what the hell is happening. It's very confusing. So they take a closer look at the crash site, and they notice that there's only minor damage to the barn as far as crash impact.
So maybe it was more of a tap.
And is that enough to eject you from the car?
No.
Right. Most of the fire damage was actually to the front of the van.
Oh, God.
Right. And if she had been ejected, why was she right under the front tire?
Right.
So they said, was she ejected from the van first, and then the van kept going and stopped over her body and just kind of tapped into the barn? Like
That seems like a far stretch.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying that none of this is adding up at all. So UTAN was quite abuzz with many theories and rumors. Whoa.
Wow. You didn't write that well.
That one doesn't make any sense. We're going to skip that. That little bullet point is dumb. Okay, so on one hand, they were very upset over the loss of Sandy. But on the other hand, they're thinking, should they be worried that some maniac is out there hunting down women,
right,
and chasing them in their cars and attacking them?
Oh, I think there's a maniac.
And it seems quite nefarious.
There's a nefarious maniac.
Yes. So they're trying to figure out, are we safe?
No.
So they're also trying to figure out, was one of the Schnabels was one of the Schnabels having an affair with the killer?
What?
So Sandy's sister, Tina, goes to talk to the police. And she said that when the children were with her after the accident had happened and Mark had dropped them off, and then I guess maybe she was keeping them when he went back to talk to them that morning.
Yeah.
She said that the daughter had mentioned seeing her mom that night with a bloody nose sitting on the porch in a big chair.
Oh.
And the daughter said, I know something was wrong with Mom.
Mm.
Tina was like, I just thought I would mention it. I didn't really ask her any questions. I just was trying to let her talk because she seemed like she had something to say.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
That's when you really get the truth.
Yeah, we just let somebody talk, especially a child. Investigators start asking around about the Schnabel marriage, and no one ever saw any problems. Mark had always been seen at Sandy's games with all the kids in tow, cheering for the team. And Sandy, he was a doting husband. He had his landscape business. He did his own thing. Mm-hmm. So then the police obtained a search warrant for the Schnabel home. At this point, Mark was no longer staying in the home. He was staying with neighbors and the kids. He had the kids at neighbor's house kind of, I don't know, bouncing around a little bit, but he said it was too painful to go back to the house.
Right.
So that worked in their favor.
Yeah.
Because they were able to go through the house without Mark there. Initially, nothing was obvious out of place except one investigator found a couple of droplets of blood in the living room. Oh. But you got kids. Sure. Kids cut themselves. People cut themselves. He's got a landscape business. So they were like, well, let's bring in the luminol and just see, what happens. Well, let me tell you something. That living room lit up like the New York skyline at night. Oh. Like it was
oh, Lord.
Hundreds and hundreds of droplets of blood. And there was some smearing where it looked like some smear. There was a little smear where it looked like somebody had tried to clean it up. The blood actually went from the living room all the way to the front door. And there was so much blood spatter. They were saying there was like over 300 spatters of blood. Mm. But it also, something caught their eye. So where the blood spatter was on the wall, it was like the wall was clear from the floor up to about waist high. And then from waist high up, it was just blood everywhere.
Oh, golly.
So it seemed like maybe there was a piece of furniture there.
Oh.
But there's no furniture there right now.
Well, duh.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, that's a little bit suspicious. Now the police are feeling like Mark maybe hasn't told them everything they need to know from the beginning.
Really?
I know. It happens. It just happens. Some people just forget when they actually, oh God, I don't know where I was when I wrote these sentences, but they're not clear English. It's very sad. Anyway, they take samples of the blood and all that kind of stuff. And they're trying to figure out what kind of furniture was there.
Yeah,
What's missing. Okay, so they also found a souvenir baseball bat that looked like it had droplets of blood and hair on it. So they take that to the lab as well. So then one of the investigators finds a box of family photos.
Oh.
And they start kind of going through the photos, looking at them. And there were some pretty recent ones that showed that there was a whole different layout of furniture in that room than what they were looking at.
Oh, no.
Like it looked like somebody had just completely rearranged the furniture. And in one of the pictures, they noticed there's this big white, comfy, stuffed chair on the, next to the wall that was no longer there.
Oh, wow.
So they start searching the property for that chair. They go out to Mark's workshop. There's no chair, but they did start looking at that gator again and noticed there was some blood spatter on the inside of the gator, like on the floor of the gator.
Right.
As well as the grill of the gator. They're like, wow.
What?
Then they start looking at the tires on that gator.
Oh, no.
And they're like, these look very similar to the ones that seem to be chasing that van.
Right.
What the hell's going on here?
Right.
They take an initial analysis of the blood, and the blood from the gator comes back as Susan's type. But, it's got to be sent out to the lab.
Of course.
And so the samples from the house also come back as her blood type. Mm-hmm. But the DNA analysis takes a little longer.
Yeah, and it's back in the 90s, so it's,
oh my gosh,
a lot slower than it is today.
Months. Years, maybe.
Years.
They know that Mark had done this by now. And they also were able to match up the bruising on Sandy's back to the front grill of that gator. So now it's getting very interesting. What the freaking hell happened? They start looking at Mark, and they discover he's in a lot of financial strife.
Oh my gosh, it's always about freaking money.
He was making about $26,000 a year with his home landscaping business, but he was spending money that like he made 4 times that amount.
Wow.
They could tell that Sandy was the manager of the money.
Right.
Because her name was on the bills that were being paid.
Right.
But on the tools and the toys that were being bought, it was his name.
Oh.
So he was spending it. She was trying to manage it.
Right.
That might have been what they argued about.
Maybe.
They also discover a life insurance policy that Mark had taken out on Sandy that December.
Oh my gosh.
6 months before her death.
Life insurance is not the answer, people.
No, for the amount of $240,000. So now eyebrows are raised. Mine are always in a state of raise, but yeah. They start 24-hour surveillance on Mark to watch what he's doing. And they also hear through the grapevine that Mark is planning to leave the area with the kids and relocate as soon as the funeral is done. So they're like, we need to get a warrant right now.
Yeah.
5 days after Sandy's death is her funeral. Mm-hmm. It's held in the gymnasium of the school where she taught and coached. Mm-hmm. Everyone could feel her spirit in the gym that day, where she had spent so much of her time, where she had touched so many lives of so many people. Over 1,000 people attended that service.
Wow.
Yes. There were so many players that came back, even players and coaches from other teams. She was so well respected. After the gym service, there was a smaller graveside service. Smaller. There were like 300 people there. So the police are watching Mark this whole time. They're in unmarked, plainclothes police officers, and they're at the funeral. You know how they do in the movies. They watch everybody.
We're getting you. We're watching you.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Afterwards, the family is lined up and people are shaking their hands like in the little condolence line,
right,
like offering their condolences. And this lead investigator, who was also like the fire investigator as well of the town, he gets in the back of the line. Mm-hmm.
That's probably good.
He goes up and so Mark's mom was standing next to Mark, and of course she's just like on autopilot at this point, like shaking people's hands. And so she takes his hand, and he said, Mrs. Schnabel, I'm very sorry for your loss. And when he says that, she looks up at him and goes, oh no, not you. So she knew.
Oh.
She knew. Immediately, they go to cuff Mark, and Mark puts up a fight.
Oh, way to go.
Yeah, in front of 300 people. Chairs are flying everywhere at the graveside.
Jiminy Cricket.
Yes. They finally wrestle Mark into the cuffs and put him in the police car and take him away. And Mark cried all the way to jail.
He cried?
Cried and cried. He sobbed. The community was absolutely outraged that they had arrested Mark. They defended him. They said he's a good guy. He's a great guy in the community. He's been so supportive. He's a great dad. He's like practically a stay-at-home dad because his business is from his home. And, he supports Sandy in all of her crazy hours with teaching and coaching and traveling and all that stuff. They were all very much in support of Mark until they hear the evidence in court, which included interviews of Mark's children.
Oh, Lord.
After his arrest. Oh, and there are 3 children. The son, who was the oldest, told the child psychologist he had awoken to hear his dad beating up his mom. He could hear her screaming and crying, and he could hear the attack. He started to go downstairs to see what was going on. His dad's caught him coming downstairs and screamed at him to go back and get in his bedroom. So he laid there and listened to the whole thing.
Oh.
Yep. Now, the older girl also talked to the psychologist, and she said that both of the girls were awakened by their mom's screams and crying. There was a big commotion. So they snuck downstairs, and they see their mom with a bloody nose in the chair, but the mom in the chair had been moved out to the porch, and mom was sleeping.
Oh, no, no, no.
Dad caught them, yelled at them for them to go back upstairs to bed and to not come back downstairs until morning.
Mommy's sleeping in the chair. I've moved out onto the porch.
And she's got a bloody nose.
The big white comfy chair.
Yes. June 1st, there's a court hearing, and they charged Mark with first-degree murder, and of course, Mark pleads not guilty.
Of course, because
right.
Why would he?
Of course, as you're waiting for the court date, you are still trying to build your case. And so police are still trying to build their case because they know a lot of it is circumstantial. They've not gotten, they just need, they don't have a murder weapon. Well, because the bat comes back inconclusive. So they don't have a murder weapon. They don't have a chair. They know that she was attacked, but does that mean he attacked her? They're trying to piece it all. They got to tie this together.
Go to the barn.
And they need physical evidence. Physical evidence. They can't use the baseball bat as the murder weapon, like I said. So investigators really need to find that damn chair.
They got to find the chair.
They actually use cadaver dogs.
Right, because, it would pick up the scent.
To search all over Mark's property.
Brilliant.
And they can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, because it's...
The defense then has Sandy's body exhumed.
Oh.
And they want their own autopsy.
Oh.
And their medical examiner comes back and says Sandy was dead at the fire. She had no soot in her lungs. And the bruising and the damage to the body was exactly what you would see in a car accident.
Oh, my God.
How convenient.
That was convenient.
Very convenient that they disputed everything the original autopsy
said.
And
that just makes me mad because that makes me feel like somebody's being dishonest. And
they're being paid to be dishonest, and they're accepting that money.
And you're a medical examiner.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That just
it's
infuriates
me. Very, very frustrating. He actually ruled her death an accident.
Oh my God.
So now the state investigators are desperate because they know they've got a lot to prove in court. There's a nearby farmer there's a farm adjacent to Mark's farm. Mm-hmm. He's out one day mowing a field. And his blades
He's mowing it?
He's mowing a field. Like on one of them big mower things.
It's a mower.
Yeah.
Wasn't a push mower. But
no, God, no. He was it was like a tractor mower.
Okay.
But his blades hit something protruding from the ground.
Oh.
He goes and digs up this thing, and it's a plastic bucket. That's not a button.
It's not a button.
It's a whole bucket.
A whole bucket.
And there are rags and a shirt stuffed into this bucket, and there's blood and on the rag and the shirt, and it smells like bleach.
So some brilliant asshole has now dug a hole and put an entire bucket in the hole with the crap in it.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Wow. And one more wow.
Oh no, save a wow.
Oh gosh.
Because the shirt had this name tag sewn on it, and that name tag read Mark.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark. You put your work shirt in the bucket.
The crime lab determines that the blood on that shirt was Sandy's.
Ugh.
That's right. Now they are really saying, okay, we've got a little bit more evidence. And they felt like this was almost like divine intervention because the trial was literally a month away.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just
it
rained enough to unbury this edge of this bucket. This man just happened to go over with his mower and just happened to say, maybe I need to show this to the police.
Yeah.
There was another farm on the other side of Mark.
Do you think when he hit it, he said, what in the Sam hell is
I think he did.
Yeah,
I think
so
he
too.
did. He definitely said Sam Hill. There was another farm on the other side of Mark's
She's
farm.
pointing like to the other
I know,
side.
if
Y'all
see,
can't see it,
I'm
but
pointing
I
to
just
the
wanna...
opposite side of where I pointed the first time. So it's
letting
very
you know.
clear where these are. Whatever.
Trying to help y'all out.
Yeah. Yeah. This neighboring farmer, one day he's out walking his property. He goes back to this tool, like this shed where there was old like tools, equipment and stuff like that. And around the back of it is sitting this weird stuffed chair.
Well, look at there. Santa Claus done brought me a chair.
Yeah. And he's like, what the hell? What the Sam hell
What in the
is
Sam
this
hell
doing?
is this?
Calls the popo.
Hey, police.
And he says, y'all might want to come look at this chair. The police go, and the way that it was sitting up against this barn, it had been through countless, this is years. Not years. That was a year. It had been through all sorts of weather.
Sure.
Lots of rainstorms, loads and loads of rain.
There might have even been a dang
A tornado.
Tornado.
A tornado. Do they have tornadoes in
I'm
Nebraska?
sure
In Nebraska.
In Nebraska.
I have just abbreviated the state to Nebraska. That is the way that we will refer to it from now on in geography class.
You'll have to look at our dictionary. It's in there.
It's in the Sugar Coated Murder Dictionary under
Nebraska.
N for Nebraska. Anyway, the police take the chair, and the chair is in perfect condition. Perfect, pristine, undisturbed condition. Full of blood.
Wow.
Full of blood.
Got full up.
Filled up of blood. They take it in. It matches Sandy's blood type. Start processing that shit right now.
That's right.
Now they're going to court with a lot of good physical evidence.
Yeah,
and they are feeling really good.
Feel good.
Yes. This is what they have put together with the evidence on what they think happened that night. Yes, they fought. Okay. They probably fought about his spending habits and what a jackass he was. At some point, he bashed in her head.
Right.
He took her in the chair in the van. Okay.
Yeah.
Hid the chair on one property and took the van to the barn.
Hey, neighbor, don't
Yes.
mind me.
And at some point, they think Sandy actually starts to come to and tries to escape and starts running away.
Oh,
at which
gosh.
point he runs her down with that gator.
Ugh.
Because that gator had these two bars that went straight across like pipes.
Right.
That went across the grill, and that's exactly what those bruises were. At some point, it looks like he ran her down, takes her back to the van, jacks it up, pins her down under it. She's still alive.
Oh my gosh.
But now she can't get away. Okay? So he leaves her there, goes back, cleans up the whole crime scene, because he needs to clean it up before the kids get up. Takes the chair to one farm, drops it off, takes the bucket to the other farm, buries it in the field, and then goes and sets fire to Sandy and the barn. That's what they think happens. And at that point, she was still alive. She was still breathing.
So he had pinned her under the van.
So she couldn't get away if she came back too.
Went and did all the stuff, came back, and then moved the van. So her body was...
He parked the van at the barn, made it look like a car crash. He had done that to begin with. And then, because he wanted to leave her body in the van.
So he must have had a truck or something. He took the stuff to the other farms.
He took it on the gator.
On the gator.
Took it on the gator.
Oh, right.
Yep. Yeah. Well, he took the chair in the van. He took Sandy and the chair in the van and dropped the chair off and then dropped Sandy in the van at the barn.
Okay. Just the bucket and the gator. Gotcha.
And then when he cleaned up, he took it in with the gator and took it back over to the other.
Don't mind me,
barn.
neighbor. I'm just
digging a hole in the field.
Worms.
Yeah. So at this point, that's what they're saying that happened. And then he goes back to bed and goes home and goes to bed.
What a crappy neighbor. That's just not neighborly.
To kill your wife and then dump all the evidence on your farm.
To dump all the evidence on your farm, yeah. That's not nice.
At this point, Mark decides to reach a plea deal. Because him scared now, they done figured him out.
Right.
They found the bucket and the damn chair, and he's saying, what? He's saying, what the Sam hell?
What the Sam hell am I going to do now?
Now what am I going to do about the state of Nebraska coming against me? He decides in a plea deal that he would confess to second-degree murder, and he would agree to 25 years to life. No death penalty. No death penalty.
That's really sweet.
But something happens in the paperwork. He's supposed to serve at least 12 and a half years, because in Nebraska, you have to serve 50% of your sentence before you get paroled. Well, after 10 years, he gets granted parole.
Oh, my gosh.
He gets granted a parole hearing. So many people attended on Sandy's behalf, they actually had to move the venue of the hearing.
Wow.
Over 30 people showed up, and more than 100 letters came in from the community on why that man needed to stay in jail.
Good.
Yes. And her family, of course, showed up, and they talked about how they lived in fear that if he ever gets out, the kids and Sandy's family are not safe.
No, they're not safe.
At this point, his older daughter is 21 years old, and she goes to the parole hearing.
Good.
His mom is there as well and pleads to please let him out, because he's a good son, and he was always a good dad.
He's a good boy.
Took
Great
good
dad.
care of those kids,
Yes.
in spite of Sandy's work schedule.
Don't worry that he, made
Yeah.
them cower in their rooms while he beat her to death with a bat and
Yeah.
then ran her over while they were still scared. But he was a good dad.
I mean, he was always a good
So
boy.
good.
He never gave us any trouble. No. The older daughter pleads at the parole hearing, and she talks about what she saw and the last time she saw her mother, and how she snuck down and saw her dad cleaning up her mom's blood with the bucket. And she talks about how all three of the children will always be traumatized by what they saw and heard that night. And this is a quote from her. "I lost my mom, my home, my family, and my childhood that night. I am asking you, pleading with you, to give me a chance to live my life. Keep him behind bars." Unanimously, he was denied parole.
Way to go, Nebraska.
And then in November of 2017, there was another parole hearing. Mm-hmm. He was denied.
Good.
He is still in Nebraska state pen.
Stick print.
Because that's what they call prisons.
in Nebraska.
In Nebraska, it's called the Prin. Because I'm really connected to the people now, so I know their lingo. So if somebody from Nebraska could just email us and back me up on all that. But here's the scary part. His next parole hearing is December of 2021. And we're hoping he stays his ass in jail. Yeah. Because it's 25 years to life, so they can continue to deny him parole.
I think they will.
I hope so, because those kids do not want their daddy out walking the streets.
No.
He has asked to be paroled and sent to South Dakota so that he can take care of his ailing mom.
For heaven's sake.
Because
he's such a good son,
boy.
right?
Yeah, he was always such a good son.
No.
That was a crazy, nasty, ugly tale of murder and cover-up.
Indeed.
And quite nefarious.
It was nefarious.
It was bewildering.
I was bewildered by the whole
nefariousness in Nebraska. And don't get sent to the Prin in Nebraska.
No.
Because they're not going out. That's my murder.
Wow, that was crazy. That was a couple crazy murders.
Couple of 2 3
crazy
4 or 5 murders. Yeah.
That's it.
That's okay. Bye, y'all.
Goodbye.
See ya. We're out. Out.
Mm-hmm. So we have social media.
Yes, we have a fan page on Facebook, and it is Sugar Coated Murder Podcast fan page. It's a group. Ask to join it. Be part of the fun. Yeah. And you'll see things.
I think our biggest following though comes on the gram.
The gram, that's where the liveliness seems to be. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interaction there. Mm-hmm. There's lots of people there. We get a lot of followers there, and so
a lot of love. We get a lot of love.
We get a lot of love. Now the difference is on the fan page on Facebook, you get the link fresh, hot off the press as soon as we put the recording on Podbean, you get the link to go in and listen to it immediately.
Hot potato.
We do not. It usually takes us until the next day before we alert the rest of the public. Right. Even on the gram. So on the gram, it's a lot of fun. But if you want to really be connected, be on both of them. Right. So that's my thing.
And we've gotten a lot of emails lately.
Guys,
it makes me so happy.
We're so over the moon with people sending
Send
us
us
stuff. We
emails.
have Mary Beth that sent us a recipe.
Yeah.
She sent us some really juicy details about some stuff.
Yeah.
She sent us murders to look into. We have Kristen that emailed us very recently who has been asking about some of the missing persons cases that
We've heard from
posted.
Lauren recently.
Lauren has sent us.
Jamie.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, guys, and we love it.
Yeah.
We feel so loved. And like, I'm just saying, anybody that emails us between now and October 31st, you're invited for Thanksgiving.
There you go.
That's it.
There you
Thanksgiving.
go. Thanksgiving.
We're trying to figure out how to do a sugar-coated murder Thanksgiving with all of our friends.
Yeah. It's a pipe dream. One
It
day.
is a pipe
Maybe
dream,
one
but
day.
it's okay. Maybe that's what we'll do at the theater, is we'll just do a Thanksgiving. The theater. We'll do a Thanksgiving.
Yes.
There you go. Yes, and we'll just like hand out turkey sandwiches.
There. That's
and
great.
talk about murder.
There.
That might be fun. I don't know. It might work.
Yeah.
Guys, let us hear from you. Let us know you're out there. Tell your friends and family. Go on and rate us and review us on Apple or Spotify, because those are the two main places that all of the data is brought in on the metrics of our podcast. And why that's important is it makes us easier to find for other listeners, which helps us grow our podcast.
We just are trying to grow.
We're just trying to grow and keep this thing going. We want it to just keep going. I'd like to be 90 and still doing this, if you don't mind. And also, just in case you have Alexa, we have Alexa, and everybody is Alexa. No, I'm just kidding. You should go on to your Alexa app and go to your skills and type in how to slay in the kitchen, and you will get a kitchen tip from Anne and I every single day on how to slay in your kitchen the way we slay in our kitchen. It's hacks, it's tips, it's tricks. It's so much fun. You get to hear our voices every freaking day. Who wouldn't want that?
Amen.
And the catch is, until I figure out something different, you have to ask Alexa to play your flash briefing for you every day. Yeah. But that's okay. And then you get a different one every day. That's a lot of fun. I can't think of anything else we have to say.
I think we've covered a lot of stuff. We did good.
Talked. We've communicated.
Yes, there's been cooking.
We've eaten. That's a good thing. We've hydrated. Mm-hmm. We've bewildered and nefarious.
Yeah.
And
we got a new mic, so we're
testing out a new microphone. Let us know if you can tell the difference. I don't know if anybody will be able to tell the difference, but I'm hoping we will be able to tell the difference.
Exactly.
Because we upgraded.
We upgraded.
Yeah, and we are still brewing our vanilla. It's still out there brewing.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have that in a couple of months for you all to purchase.
Keep those donations coming.
Yeah, so we can keep that vanilla going.
Buy me a coffee.
Yes. I don't know if the sale is over, but you should go to TeePublic and see if our merchandise is still on sale. It was on sale for 35% off. That's a really
we
good
had
deal.
somebody buy a bunch of magnets.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Thanks, Mama.
Thanks, Mama. She's so sweet. She supports us so well. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we love you.
We do. We love you.
Stay sweet.
And don't murder.
If you kill people,
we will talk about you.
Yeah, girl, we will. And we love y'all.
We do.
Peace out.
Bye.